Ladies, gents, good morning. 25th of February, and we are right here, right after the London Open. My name is Piotr. It's my pleasure to be with you here and making this London market update for Light Forex Global YouTube channel. The things, well, are worsening, right? There was some bounce during the Asian hours. Well, for me, it's like some coordinated action to trying to avoid the total crash, but looks like at the beginning of the London, beginning of the Europe session, that things are going to back to what we've seen yesterday towards the US close, especially with the new cases in Spain this time. So we've seen Italy right now. Yesterday, after the New York close, there was a new case in Spain. Right now, the island Tenerife, there was some information that we have one new case over there. So definitely the things are not going into the right direction, right? We have this information that Spain health authorities carry tests on hundreds of tourists in Canary Island hotel after one coronavirus case identified. So, well, guys, what we have to remember, we've seen weaker PMI manufacturing, but the services were quite good. Right now, here, Spain, France, Italy, I wonder what kind of the PMI services we are going to get. Now, I would like to see how the things on the Tenerife Island, on the Canary Island, on the Canary Island in Tenerife, how they are going to develop, because that's going to show us what might happen when the virus hit the island, right? So, well, that's gonna be very, very interesting. Also from the pound perspective we discussed yesterday. So let's have a look what we have right here, right now. Let's start, guys, with the gold, all right? And then we will check the other charts. So without the further delay, let's jump and check the charts. All right, there you go. We've seen, well, there was a mystery seller yesterday. There was plenty of different rumors when it comes to what happened to the gold during the US hours, right? In my opinion, based on my experience, well, it was some kind of the manipulation from one of the banks, right? I don't know if it was JP Morgan, whatever it was the coordinated action, in my opinion, trying to show that everything is under control, because once the gold is lower, so other risk assets may jump, right? So especially we've seen the jump during the Asian hours when it comes to the risk on, right? But it was mostly 50% of the Monday trading range, and we are going get back when it comes to the indices and the yen to where we've been yesterday towards the New York close. What the good thing is from the intraday perspective for the bulls, right? Because what happened? We closed the gap, that for sure, right? And that's the only instrument for now where we close the gap, right? The gap been working at the beginning of the Tokyo session, but then we made the lower low. Right now we got back above this falling trend line, all right? So I think it's gonna be very interesting to see where we are from the gold perspective towards the New York Open, because the sellers, bears, are gonna to try to defend daily open, right? The buyers, they are going to the buyers are going to try to defend the break above this lower low, right? So in that case, we are talking about this level. So the sellers should be around 1660, the buyers from the intraday perspective around 1642, 1640, right? That's how I see the things short term on the gold. Of course, of course, we already seen attempt to fade, right, the gold at the very beginning of the January, right? It might end up the same way. I'm looking for a retest of the high, and that's where the things should get interesting, because I'm looking for this 1-to-1. All right, so I'm looking for a retest, and how deep the correction, how deep the correction will be, that should tell us the story, because we are almost, so I'm not surprised we have the buyers here. Some kind of the consolidation may take place, and then continuation to the upside. So it's worth to watch this 1642, 1640 we discussed a second ago from the intraday perspective. That's how I see the things on the gold, right? Now, the next one is the oil. There was a huge sell-off yesterday, and we hit again 50, all right? The 50, we discussed, huge level. We were buyers at some point at 50. Well, the thing is, when it comes to the coronavirus, we should see what the countries are doing, not what the politicians are saying, right? When it comes to coronavirus, the things like the Trump comment that he sees strong indices after the fall in US, those dips should be bought, right? This type of the pump the stocks news right now, in my opinion, might be the good opportunity to fade. The only news right now, the real news towards the coronavirus, that some kind of the vaccine, of course, it's gonna to take some time. We have to have some tests, right? 3-6 months. So maybe it's gonna be towards the end of the year. But anything positive related, real thing to the coronavirus, yeah, might push risk on higher. But as I mentioned, see what the countries are doing. Got the example from Hong Kong, right? All the schools are gonna be closed towards the Easter, and Easter is like 1.5 months ahead, so another 45 days, right? So that's what we have here. Well, don't forget, guys, we do have post, if I'm not mistaken, we have API, post, and tomorrow EEA. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some kind of the correction. Market is trying to hold again the 50, and we are going to retest 52 or maybe 50 to 50. I'm not sure if you are going to close the gap, but this type of the coordinated rally, that might be, I'm going to watch very carefully. That might be opportunity to try to add into the short when it comes to the oil, right? Now, next, indices. Before we will jump into the Spain one, right? Ibex. Let's have a look what we have on the Nasdaq. That's interesting. We just retest 50% of the yesterday range, right? I'm not gonna be surprised after such a huge fall, right? I'm not gonna be surprised, and you know this pattern. One big to the downside. I'm not gonna be surprised. Today price action, tomorrow price action, right? And then finally Thursday price action with some upper shadow, some relief rally coordinated price action to the upside, maybe even attempt to close the gap, because the US indices, that's where I see the possibility we might see the closing the gap, right? That's where I see the possibility we might close the gap. But this type of the price action with the Thursday daily close below the weekly open, all right? And then Friday, similar price action. No one wants to stay long into the weekend, right? So it's gonna to be from the Nasdaq perspective, and most of the indices look similar. It's going to be like confirm head and shoulders, and then next week, well, probably continuation to the downside, unless, you know, full central banks support to the market. So that's why we have a higher volatility. I wouldn't chase the market. Try to observe what is going on and then decide what's next. So finally, Ibex here, the situation might looks a little bit different, right? I'm watching very, very carefully right now. Huge gap, 50% continuation, and we have lower low, right? The only thing here is that we are testing huge possible demand right here, right now, all right? So it's cannot be ruled out when it's going to get some kind of the ECB action, right? We might see this retest of the yesterday high at some point, but the same pattern might be in play here, similar what we discussed with Nasdaq. Well, I'm going to check what is going on around the New York Open, and if necessary I will get back to you with another update. Guys, don't be trapped, right? Be careful. Higher volatility, meaning the price of the movements might be a little bit different to what you adopt for the last few years. Be careful out there. See you around. Take care and goodbye.